Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel. Time for another heavy metal. I think it's all heavy metal update. Just jump into it. First up, I've been spinning this quite a bit. This is not an album that I would have honestly gone out and gotten on my own or sought out on my own. I've talked about the Gimme Metal record club. One of the cool things about Gimme Metal is it's cheap, under $30 shipped. You get a really cool metal album. The downside of it is they're not pressing anything that's not already out there being pressed. They do press their own distinct or custom color that nobody else is doing. But I don't think any of these albums that they've released so far have been out of print for a long time. So one thing I would really like to see them do is, maybe as they get more customers and they have more money to do so, start seeking out some of the more obscure or just classic albums that aren't being pressed. I was just listening to Gravedigger. Man, there's that whole area of Gravedigger, especially the Scotland Clan records that are 170, 180 bucks that have not been repressed that just need it. So I would rather see them do some more stuff like that. But that being said, this is the debut LP from Amon and Marth. Fantastic. Once sent from the Golden Hall. So the reason I wouldn't have sought this out, the last two Amon and Marth albums have been phenomenal, especially Yam's Vikings. I played that nonstop when it came out. But there was a pretty long stretch where their stuff was just kind of getting boring, kind of sounding the same to me. So while I did like the last two, I had like 5 or 6 of their albums on CD that I ended up getting rid of a couple years ago because I just don't listen to them. They're just not that interesting to me. But I had never heard their debut, and like I said, I really enjoyed this. Just that old school or traditional death metal sound, traditional Viking metal sound, really good. I've really enjoyed this and have been spinning a lot. So, next up, man, this album is a face smasher, an ass kicker, whatever you want to call it. Phenomenal album. I can't believe I haven't heard anybody talking about this band. It was a blind buy for me. It just looked like a thrash metal album, and I looked it up online, and it said crossover, so I went ahead and grabbed it. If you're a fan of Power Trip, this is a must-have. This is Enforced, At the Walls. Same vein as Power Trip, came out the same year as the first Power Trip album. And from what I read, looking online, a lot of the thrash sites and a lot of the extreme metal sites listed this in their top 2 or 3 albums of the year. So I can't believe I haven't heard anything about this. Power Trip's all over the place, and these guys just sort of fell off. I don't know if their other albums are as good as this. Maybe that's what the issue was, but man, highly recommend checking this one out if you're a thrash metal fan. Just killer thrash. Crossover, they call Power Trip crossover. They call Enforced crossover. It's not crossover the way we thought of it back in the 80s, where it was more of a punk edge. If had I listened to this without somebody telling me it was crossover, I would have just called this a thrash album. Really killer, though. Highly recommend checking that one out. Next up, this one, I didn't know this existed. I was at one of my local record stores, and I had it for like $25. This is Ronnie's Birthday Show from Dio, Milwaukee, 1994. I don't know if this is an unofficial. It's hard to tell. They have been releasing officially releasing a lot of the Dio live stuff. It's phenomenal. And, I've talked about this before. Strange Highways is by far my favorite Dio album. This is from that tour. So you've got Jesus, Mary, and the Holy Ghost, which is also my favorite Dio song. Strange Highways. There's about 4 songs off of that album on here, which I love. And it's just, man, so I will say the first couple songs, the sound quality isn't the greatest. I don't know there's something going on with the mic. But then by about the 3rd song, it sounds fantastic. And the other album is great too. So if you run across this, definitely worth picking up. Let's be honest. Anything from Dio live is worth, even some of the Dio stuff that I've bought that is not the greatest quality, it's still worth having. His live stuff is just fantastic. Next up, this next one, I don't remember why I didn't buy it the year it came out. I don't know if I just kept running across it or wasn't running across it, or maybe just ended up grabbing other stuff instead. Had I bought this, was it last year? 2019, this would have been in my top 10 for the year. Fantastic album. I've been playing this nonstop, man. This is so good. But this is Dominion from Hammerfall. It's their most recent release. They absolutely killed it on this album. If you guys haven't checked this one out or haven't checked out Hammerfall in a while, I've always liked Hammerfall. Them and Gravedigger, I don't know what it is. A lot of people that even power metal guys kind of put their head down to Hammerfall and Gravedigger, which I've never understood. And they've both been putting out the newest Gravedigger was, I think, number 2 or 3 on my list for last year. Just putting out some great stuff, but man, this is so good. Definitely recommend picking. And I got that one used at one of my local shops for like $12. So next up, just that old school death metal. I love that there's still bands like this putting out just traditional death metal, but this is Gruesome, Savage Land. These guys are great. I actually just today, let's see. Just today I was at my local record store and ended up buying this one too, so you'll see that in a future video. But man, these guys are phenomenal. Highly recommend checking them out as well if you have not. If you're into that old school death metal sound, there you go. This is one that's been on my want list for a long time. Rockadrome had sold out, and it was hard to find copies for the longest time. I had an alert on the Rockadrome website, and as soon as this popped up, I ordered it. Unfortunately, I dropped it and put a little scratch on it, which drives me crazy. It doesn't really affect the play. It just annoys the shit out of me. So this is one of those bands that all the hard rock guys, 70s hard rock guys, have been talking about for years. I finally bought their debut album, and I loved it. It's become a favorite of mine. The debut album had a lot of covers, though, and everybody was telling me, you've got to get this album. So this is Satori from the Flower Traveling Band, Japanese 70s hard rock, really killer. I think I still like their debut album a little bit better, even though it's got the covers on it. But this is phenomenal as well. I think they have 2 more albums if I remember correctly. So I'll definitely be looking for those as well. And I love the artwork on here. It's just fantastic. Next up, finally some repress, or actually, these may be the first time on vinyl for these. I know for the album before this it was, but we've got Snakes in the Playground. And I think it's here. Yeah. And Kinetic Faith from Bride. These are albums that fans have been clamoring for on vinyl forever. This one is on red vinyl. I'm not going to pull it out. And this one is on green vinyl. They look and sound fantastic. Girder did a killer job with these. I can't remember if Scott Waters did the graphics on these. I feel like he might have, but part of the limited run series. Really glad to finally have those on vinyl. Bride has always been a favorite of mine, and Snakes on a Playground, I believe that was my introduction to them, so that's always kind of been my favorite. Kind of that Skid Row sound. Phenomenal albums though. Next up, this one shocked me too. So the same time I bought those, I ordered this because they had it on sale. I think I paid $18 or $20 for it. I wasn't a fan of the first Bloodgood album. I don't think it was a bad album, but I didn't think it was great either. So when they announced that this was being pressed vinyl, I didn't think anything of it. And then they had a sale. So I wanted to check it out. Everybody told me it was really good. Oz Fox joined the band, and I think he wrote a lot of the stuff. You can definitely hear his riffing in there. But we've got Dangerously Close from Bloodgood, and this is outstanding. Again, highly recommend checking this one out. Again, you got Oz Fox from Striper doing a lot of the lead and solos, and it's a really fantastic. I was really blown away. Then I was reading online. A lot of people think that this is the best Bloodgood album. It's definitely the best of the three that I'm familiar with. So, next up, one that will probably be one of the albums of the year. Just a favorite of mine. These guys have really turned themselves around their last three albums or so. I like their stuff from the 90s and early 2000s as well, but it wasn't that early sound, and they're definitely getting back to that. And this is Flotsam and Jetson. Blood in the Water, a hometown band for me from Phoenix. This one, I think this one was limited to 100. I pre-ordered this directly from the band's website. And there's the vinyl for, yeah, it said, I can see it now, limited to 100. Again, this will be in my unless something crazy happens in the next 5 or 6 months, which very well could. This will be in my my top 10. I mean, I've just been playing this thing pretty much nonstop. Another just killer album from Flotsam and Jetson. This next one, let's do one, two. Yeah, we'll do one or two more. Beast in Black. I think I mentioned them a couple videos ago. What was the original band? Beast in Black. Battle Beast. So the lead guitarist and the main songwriter from Battle Beast left the band after their second or third album. Now, those first few albums of theirs are by far my favorite. I haven't liked their last two as much, though I have liked them. But there was something different about him, and I found out that it was because the guitarist... Does it say his name on here? Oops. No, it doesn't. The guitar player left the band. He ended up starting his own band called Beast in Black, and it's phenomenal. If you like those first few Battle Beast albums, you're going to love this album. It's so good. So one thing I liked about those early albums, and I've mentioned this before, is they took like 80s synth and added it to power metal, and it's the coolest sound. Like I said, it's power metal. It's got kind of an 80s feel to it with the synths. This one has male vocals instead of female vocals. That's the difference, the biggest difference between them and Battle Beast. But it's not an expensive album. I think you can get it for like $22-23, and it's phenomenal. They have a new album that came out. This one's 2019. I think they had one that came out in 2020, or maybe I'm getting it backwards. Maybe there was one before this, but they have one more album that I'm going to get next. Absolutely phenomenal. Next up, one of my favorite albums of the year. Even though it technically came out last year, the vinyl pressing wasn't released till this year. I purposely held off on getting this. I actually have the demo from these guys, and I ordered a custom cassette where they did like a pressing of 50 for this too. But I held off on listening to it till the album came in. Once the album came in, this is my favorite album of the year so far. This is Hypnotized by Midnight Dice. So basically, I believe it was Satan's Hollow was a 5-piece. And 2 of the guys from the band quit. The 3 remaining members and 1 other guy created Midnight Dice. So it's the same female singer from Satan's Hollow. I think the songwriting here is much better. The band sounds much better. I really like that Satan's Hollow CD. This one blows it out, or album. This one blows it out of the water. If you can still get a copy of this, I don't know if they're even available anymore. I pre-ordered this, maybe early 2020, and we didn't get them until late or early 2021. So, and it's only a 5-song EP. It's not even a full-length album. But man, it is so good. Highly, highly, highly recommend grabbing a copy of this. Really killer artwork too. We'll call this one the last one. One of my favorites. Crowbar has always been a favorite band of mine. And although I like all of their albums, there's 2 that have always stood out. Time Heals Nothing and Oddfellows Rest. This is Time Heals Nothing. It just got a really nice repress from E1. I'm really glad to have this one on vinyl. Been playing this a lot as well. Keep an eye out on E1 because they've been doing a lot of really small pressings, 500, 400, and they're selling out in minutes sometimes. So I just missed out on the Zach Wild. I got the email, and literally an hour after the email arrived, I was on the website and it was sold out. So That's it, guys. Hope to see you soon. Take care. Subscribe, all that good stuff. Bye.